While Sony has begun to slowly reveal the PS5's feature set and a fancy new logo, we still know very little about the PlayStation 5's games lineup, particularly what exclusives might be on the way. That said, there are plenty of follow-ups to PS4 exclusives we want to see on the PS5, ranging from sure bets to pipe dreams to chances for franchises to do it better the second time around. We've picked 9 unannounced sequels that would sing on the PS5, and be sure to let us know your picks in the comments. From Software may have moved on from Bloodborne for now, but the developer's fans certainly haven't. With each new FromSoft game come questions of a would-be Bloodborne sequel that would return fans of the Soulsborne genre to its nightmarish universe. Take, for example, the first teasers for Sekiro. The immediate assumption, or maybe hope perhaps in retrospect, was that it suggested a Bloodborne sequel was on the way. Sadly, it never came to fruition, and while FromSoft did expand on its world with excellent DLC, Bloodborne has remained largely untouched, not even getting a PS4 Pro performance patch. But given FromSoft's willingness to jump from franchise to franchise, it wouldn't be shocking to see the studio return to a world so beloved by PlayStation fans.
What does it matter if everyone else is dead?
While Days Gone wasn't our best reviewed Sony first-party game of the generation, it certainly was one we saw brimming with potential. From its impressive Freaker Horde tech to Deacon St. John's charming characterization to the customizable motorcycle. And that's not to mention the clear, evident teasers developer Ben Studio made in Days Gone to one of its earlier franchises. Given that layered history and the foundation of unique gameplay opportunities, a Days Gone sequel has plenty to build off of when starting a new adventure. It's also clear Bend is invested in the world of Days Gone. The studio has done a fantastic job of keeping its community alive, with post-launch free DLC challenges, along with plenty of patches to fix some of the adventure's tech issues. Given its investment in its world so far, a Days Gone sequel could elevate the series to new highs.
Who you were before doesn't matter. This boy is not your past, he is your son. And he needs his father.
Sony Santa Monica blew us away with its 2018 take on God of War, which received a 10 in our review from yours truly, and was IGN's Game of the Year for 2018. The evolution of Kratos obviously became a touchpoint for a large part of the PlayStation 4 fanbase, selling over 10 million copies in its first year on sale, a feature-length documentary about God of War's development, and plenty of impressive fan creations like an animatronic Mimir head. But after its initial release, Sony Santa Monica has remained relatively quiet on Kratos' future. Opting not to do any major campaign or story-based DLC, God of War received a few updates after its launch like Photo Mode and New Game Plus. Instead of story DLC, its post-launch life has been about celebrating its story, an elongated hunt for Easter eggs, and general wonder about where it could go next, particularly after the revelations of its ending. And while that remains a mystery, its sales, critical, and conversational success makes a sequel something the PS4 and likely PS5 audience would very much want to play.
Your whole life you've been searching, and the elders, they've been holding you back.
Horizon Zero Dawn represented an evolution for first-party studio Guerrilla Games. The studio known for Killzone shifted away from the first-person shooter genre to create a unique third-person action game set in an entirely new world dense with lore, characters, and rewarding hunting gameplay. Following its DLC expansion The Frozen Wilds, Horizon has remained relatively dormant though. But considering Aloy has since been positioned as one of Sony's most significant new first-party protagonists, the future of her world is brimming with potential. And for a completely new franchise, Horizon sold an impressive 10 million plus copies worldwide, received critical praise when it first launched, and demonstrated what Guerrilla could do in a brand new world. We've gotten bits and pieces of info suggesting a Horizon sequel is in the works, so it seems only a matter of when, not if, Horizon 2 is announced for PS5.
For all we know, we may be able to pass you through their security, because you're not a normal viral terrorist.
While Sucker Punch has seemingly moved on to the world of its yet-to-be-released Ghost of Tsushima, it set up an expansive, fascinating world with the infamous franchise on the PS3. Exploring the good and evil of people with superpowers is common fodder in film and TV, but is still a relatively unexplored world in video games, given the dearth of quality licensed superhero games from Marvel and DC. Infamous's last entry, Infamous Second Son, sold an impressive 1 million copies in just over a week when it debuted very early in the PS4's life cycle. And while the series has remained dormant since Second Son and its standalone DLC First Light, the lack of other major superhero video games outside of Marvel's SpiderMan, of course, and whatever WB is doing with Batman leaves plenty of room for an Infamous comeback.
My work gives them hope that we will one day prevail against our enemies.
Hear me out. The Order 1886 seemed full of potential before its launch, coming from Ready at Dawn, the developers behind God of War spin-offs, and so much more. Plus, its heightened cinematic style, unique story, and mix of historical fiction felt like a recipe for success. But sadly, its gameplay was extremely linear and limited, despite its beautiful world. Still, The Order has found somewhat of a second life, frequently going on sale on the PSN, and given its cliffhanger ending that perfectly set up an expansive new franchise, has left many hungry for more, myself included. And while Ready at Dawn has gone on to focus on VR games, the series still feels like it has potential for an amazing follow-up.
Oh boy.
Just remember what I taught you.
What did you teach me?
2016's Ratchet and Clank reboot, remake sort of thing brought to life one of Sony's most charming mascot action platformers for new and returning fans on the PS4. The reboot proved there's plenty of life in the admittedly long-in-the-tooth franchise, but a sequel has been curiously absent despite its franchise sales records. But with developer Insomniac Games now officially part of the Sony first-party family, Ratchet and Clank feels like a worthy franchise to continue as Sony heads into the PS5 generation. Family-friendly, visually beautiful Faire is a great way to sell a new system to mass audiences and families, alongside the more serious Faire geared at older gamers. But Ratchet bridges the gap and has plenty to appeal to both camps, making it a prime candidate for an early exclusive to hit the PS5. Maybe even a launch game?
Peter, it's time to get up.
A sequel to Marvel's Spider-Man is another one of those when, not if, unannounced sequels we expect to be announced, but that doesn't mean we want it any less. And there's plenty of evidence to suggest that a sequel is inevitable given the original's success. Marvel's Spider-Man is the best-selling superhero game ever in North America, while Marvel Games saw Spider-Man as kicking off a new era for Marvel's video game output. Of course, the biggest signal coupled with its sales success that Sony sees a future in Spider-Man is Sony acquiring longtime partner and Spidey developer Insomniac Games as a proper first-party studio.
For those who prove worthy, paradise awaits.
While Naughty Dog isn't afraid to say goodbye to its popular franchises, rest in peace Naughty Dog's original Crash Bandicoot and Jak and Daxter series, the Uncharted franchise is still universally loved and feels pretty vital in 2020. And while Uncharted 4 may have been a thief's end for Nathan Drake, it turned in tremendous sales success as the highest selling PS4 exclusive at the end of 2016, its launch year, with nearly 9 million copies sold. Outside of Drake himself, Uncharted: The Lost Legacy proved the world is rife with globe-trotting stories to tell with its ensemble cast. Whether Uncharted looks like the continuation of Chloe and Nadine's journey in Lost Legacy, or the story of another group of characters, a young Sully series perhaps, there are plenty of avenues the series could still go down. Those are just a few of our suggestions for PlayStation franchises we hope get another life on PS5. Be sure to let us know what franchises you'd like to see make the leap to next gen, and check out the latest episode of Podcast Beyond, our weekly PlayStation show, for more news, analysis, and impressions. And of course, for everything else PlayStation 5, you're already in the right place, IGN.